Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. So glad to be back with you here on the channel. I want to say happy Holy Week. Just to reiterate what President Trump and Melania said, a happy and blessed Holy Week to all the Christians in America. So amazing, so wonderful to have that being coming out of the White House again. And so we'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. And so, yeah, I'm so glad to be back with you. We have a ton of news to get into, obviously, because it's been a week since I've been here, and I'm so sorry for that. I'm in transition. I guess you can see that. And there's just a lot going on, but I'll be back with you several more times this week. So we'll be good to go. And I, of course, want to mention my sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. C60evo.com is the incredible source of the award-winning carbon 60, the ESS 60 molecule used in all the studies that crosses the blood-brain barrier and gets into all of your mitochondria to clean the garbage out from all the biowarfare, plus decrease inflammation. People now have been doing testimonials about its success with autism. So very exciting there, concerning what I'm going to talk about in this video with RFK Jr.'s incredible announcement. But everybody who views these videos can get 10% off by using the code YAFTV, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off, or you can get 15% off if you've ever contributed to the channel and donated, and then you get a different link sent to you, and I also give away 2 bottles every month of C60 Evo, so it's quite amazing. Yeah, all right. Let's jump in with the news. I'll put on the glasses. I'm so glad to be back with you. It's been kind of a long haul on my end, so sorry it's kind of weird lighting here tonight, but we're just going to jump in. We're dealing with this, I mean, the news is off the hook. It's incredible, and we're dealing with what basically is a 5-tier leveled World War G, right? World War globalism. I think the Zero Hedge is the one that kind of coined that. And what we're looking at here with this World War G is we're looking at this 5-tier, really, enemies of the US from within and without that have been trying to decimate Western civilization and, of course, take down the United States as the #1 bastion of freedom in the world and upholders of the best freedoms under our US Constitution. And it's being taken on all fronts by the Trump administration. It's off the hook, amazing. And oh wait, I did want to say thank you. Sorry, I have to for 1 second. Also, I want to say thank you to Anna. I love those 111 executive orders too. Thank you to MP, and thank you to Yimi Yahoo for supporting the channel, and of course everybody who supports monthly. All right, sorry, I had to just put that in there. I forgot in the beginning, which is just because there's so much to say. So let's get into it. We're going to get into the news on these fronts. We have really a 5-tier system here of attack that is this globalist World War III that's already happening, that the US is now counterattacking, that the Trump administration is counterattacking this war that's already been going on against us. And we have, of course, the first thing would be the European International, right? This is the royals, the big money, the Rothschilds, everything out of the EU, and their desire to create that Fifth Reich situation, this world government, okay? And this ties into the transhumanists, which are, of course, the World Economic Forum people, and the big pharma crowd that is, of course, the biowarfare crowd. That's from within and without the United States, and the European International. And then, of course, we have the jihadist Islam situation, the expansion of the Caliphate, and how that's been used on every front to invade Western civilization, take down the best countries for freedom and living free lives in the world, Christian countries, Christianity specifically targeted. And then, of course, we have the kind of fifth wheel in there, which is the Black Rocks, the vanguards, the State Streets, the big hedge funds that are controlling the money as the middlemen that Trump keeps talking about. And lastly, of course, the CCP, which is being taken on in full frontal force here, hugely, going against what now is, of course, the AI race and what it means. Because what happens if you look at, writers like Peter Zane, that have written things about, the end of globalism and what we're looking at. Every time there is a new advance in technology, it changes world powers. It changes what world powers can do from their vantage point, whether it's geolocation or it is their technological dominance. So you go from, Spain and Portugal thriving, right, in all of the abilities they were able to do from their protected positions as a naval force, to then, of course, Britain taking over with, the British East India Company becoming this huge corporate force, probably the first global force. And with that, of course, we had the rise up that became 1776. And on April 19th is Patriots Day. Patriots Day, a lot of people across the world and even this country don't know about Patriots Day, but it is basically the anniversary of, and this year, and the 100th day of Trump's presidency will be the shot heard around the world. And this is the second American Revolution versus the globalists, just as in the first revolution, they took on the British East India Company as well as King George and all of it. But it was specifically about this British imperialist globalist force trying to tax everything, force America to buy everything out of their corporation. And we know what happened then. And now it's happening again now in the Second American Revolution. So that's where we're at. And it's going to be amazing. I'm going to touch on all these points that have to do with all of those 5 different tiers of what we're dealing here in World War G. And it's being executed enormously, amazingly well. So I think I'm going to start here. Might seem a strange place to start, but it's really quite important when we look at the tariffs that Trump's doing. Okay, they're not just economic tariffs. This tariff war, this economic war that Trump is now fighting back against, that has been happening on the United States and, of course, all of humanity, but specifically people in Western civilization countries, is that what Trump's doing with these tariffs is to it's not only economic issues involved here, tit for tat tariffs. He's employing policy as well. So the tariffs are being waged, and the negotiations now with 130 plus countries that Dan Hassett out of Dan Hassett? Anyway, maybe I don't have his first name right, but Hassett, who said there's at least 130 countries now. We know President Trump is meeting with the negotiators out of Japan already. This is ongoing. We have Maloney out of Italy coming to talk about the negotiations with Italy, but also the EU, kind of talking as a EU representative. And but huge things coming out of the UK. So what Trump is leveraging here is not only money tit for tat, he's leveraging policy, and specifically policy that has to do with racism against whites and also censorship on free speech. He's doing this in the UK and Europe, against free speech and what's going down with free speech. He's also doing it with industry, that if these countries have industry that they've sold out to the CCP, he's making them reclaim those industries if they want to reduce their tariffs. He's also dealing with the migration invasion caliphate situation, where he is making them adhere to deportations of the Muslim invasions of the European countries. And it's amazing. It's incredible. We saw even with Ireland, I think it was just a week after the tariffs were announced, we saw Ireland, that is just under complete invasion, tripling their deportations. And we're seeing now in the UK this, which is that Nigel Farage at the Reform Party, who's been, he's gotten a little squirrely here, but he's working with Starmer. Basically, now they have nationalized, and again, under these negotiations with the Trump team of what they need to do to get their tariffs down, and that's one of the reasons he kept them on the UK, is because of this, which is the British steel. British steel has now been seized and nationalized, and this is amazing. I think it was called Scunthorpe, which it used to be privatized, and then way back after World War II, and then it was, excuse me, it used to be nationalized, and then it was reprivatized and sold to the CCP, basically sold to a Chinese company that totally gutted it and nearly shut it down, British Steel. And what's happening here now is we're seeing that they are agreeing now to renationalize British Steel and have the ability to reindustrialize Britain. This is while British farmers who are under attack from Starmer's government, from the Labour Party government, to have huge taxes on their farms, basically trying to steal the farms, to steal the land out of the British people, these multiple, 100 generation, just 100-year farming lands, to try to seize that property, of course, for their what has been their globalist operations, to take control of the production of food in the UK. The farmers have been refusing to bring their wheat and other grains to get milled, refusing to have them be processed to be sold, to disrupt and challenge that. And so what we see here with British Steel, this is very important. Incredible reversal of 50 years of what was like the Thatcherite style of free markets that became globalism. Okay. And that was, we've seen this across the board, even with Reagan, where things that were pushed and pushed as being free market really became globalist. And we saw that with the creation of USAID under Reagan and multiple other things. But this is really a huge step in the UK for them to nationalize British Steel. So huge. And yeah, we'll keep going on with that. And so I think I'll jump over to here as we look at the second leg of this, which is the second leg of the 5-tier thing I just mentioned, the globalist assault against the West, is if we look at the biowarfare situation and big pharma and the transhumanist push and all of that. And we have, of course, congratulations to all the incredible female athletes out there, the young women who are taking back their sports, refusing en masse, multiple now, it's gone across multiple different sports where they're just refusing to compete against teams that have trans men calling themselves women on their team. So congrats, big ups to you. We had Trump come out and say, hey, this is abuse of women. And he did it when Bukele was there at the White House. This is clear-cut abuse of women. Okay, you have men beating up on women in sports, and it's absolutely disgusting. And so now, the DOJ is going after Maine for Title IX, and there's just huge things going on there. So I wanted to say that. But I think the huge, enormous thing that happened today is, of course, we have RFK Jr. coming out with his autism epidemic denial announcements, where he basically is saying, because of big pharma and because of the HHS in the past being captured, the CDC, et cetera, we have this autism epidemic denialism. And it's gone on to perpetuate the vaccine schedule and to bury the evidence of damage of the brains of children by autism. And he's come in and basically said, there's 1 in 20 boys now get autism. That the full number seems to be 1 in 31 children, but it's 1 in 20 boys. And because girls have a thicker blood-brain barrier than boys. And so that's why boys get autism more frequently, is because it goes straight into the brain, all the toxins of the shots. And he basically saying there's been a 480% increase since basically 1989. And that's the change in the massive uptick when the vaccine schedule went off the charts. And it's just incredible. Basically, it's boys 4-to-1 versus girls. And it's called the ADDM study, the ADDM study at the CDC. And we have people like the child psychologist, Walter Zarodny, who's been involved in all these studies for 20 years, trying to, just saying that this is absolutely, um, it's an environmental and poison issue. This has nothing to do with genetics. Genetics are not the cause. And so what RFK Jr. is saying that by September, we're going to have all the studies all clear. And we will then be able to do this incredible, whatever it's going to be, hopefully, no mandated vaccines whatsoever, and taking multiple of them off the market. We know they've already are in the process of unmandating the COVID vaccine specifically. And just so we know, those incredible numbers of 480% increase in autism doesn't even include, that's like from 2022. That doesn't even mean that they now are tracking, because they usually use 8-year-old children to determine this, what has happened since the COVID jabs and the massive poisoning, the neurological effects, what it means to have your cardiovascular system totally disrupted, your gut completely destroyed. Those will be coming. So that's an incredible thing against the World War G with Big Pharma, the transhumanists, the depopulationists, Bill Gates et al. And so that's very, very exciting. At the Pentagon, we're seeing Hegseth removing multiple more people. There's been 3 now in the last couple of days removed. 2 of them are Darren Selnick, who is one of his close-up deputy advisors, and also Dan Caldwell, an advisor at the Department of Defense, who was removed for leaks, for leaking Pentagon information recently. And I'm sure this gets into Signalgate and gets into what they're being able to identify there. So that's very exciting as well. And then we get, there's so much, I'm just like, wow. Then we get Steve Witkoff. He's been meeting with Putin. Okay, this is his 3rd meeting with Putin for about 5 hours. Putin and his top advisors, Buskov and Dmitriev, and they are basically putting together Russia's final requests for what is an extended peace plan. Putin has said, we want Ukraine war to be done. We want a total peace plan. We want this to happen now. And we have final requests. So Witkoff hasn't let those out yet. But we're hearing multiple things about what this entails. We know, obviously, it's nuclear weapons, and making sure that Ukraine doesn't have them, not being part of NATO, not having security forces from the EU or NATO involved in Ukraine, and as well as, I believe, keeping the territories already seized. And, as others have said, it would be like having, the state of Texas fight with the state of New Mexico, in the sense that these people, but way larger than that, because they are the same people who used to be part of the same country, speaking the same languages. Zelensky has come and said, we want more missiles from the United States, still refusing any rare earth deal, still going the road of hoping that the European International is going to win some fight here and keep funding them, and just doing what he's told. Because let's understand, Zelensky, just like probably Xi, they won't be in power for much longer with what's going on here. And World War G, the global economy, is going to be redone and reset to stop these people under what's happening here in this war that is the tariff war. And so, as Zelensky says, we just want more missiles, Trump says, well, why did you start a war with a country 20 times bigger than you, with a population in your country that is, hugely supporting them, supporting Russia, part of Russia, and wants to not be part of Ukraine anymore? Why would you start that war and then, of course, then come begging for missiles? Well, we know why. The Newlands, the whole Biden regime, the Obama regime, all of it in all of the money, massive laundering of the most corrupt country in the world. That was Ukraine. So we already know why, but now it's basically Trump is saying, no, we're not giving you any more weapons, and we're pulling in the reins on NATO. And it becoming very clear that part of these tariffs as well is if you want any support of the U.S. defense-wise, if that's the Suez Canal, that you all should be paying for the defense of that for your trade, whatever it is, it's going to be contingent on you adhering to our policies and what's coming with Ukraine and Russia. So huge stuff here. And also out of that, when they were talking about Iran as well, to do with Witkoff's meeting with Putin and the Iranian officials, is they're looking for denuking the entire Middle East. And one of their huge deals is, hey, if you want us to not ever have nukes, which they already do, Iran already does, then Israel shouldn't have them either. They're right next door. And we don't want to have this threat. And how can we stop our pursuit of them if they can just nuke us at any time? And also the other Arab states, okay? And that gets into, I think, for the West and the expansion of the Caliphate, which I'm going to get into in a moment here, the other one of the legs of this table, which is the threat of Arab countries and the Caliphate expansion. And so let's maybe move into that right now. We have Al-Akbar Muhammad Amin, arrested on murder attempts, murder threats against Tulsi Gabbard, DNI Gabbard, and her husband, arrested for those threats. We've had multiple people arrested in the last week for threats to murdering Trump and others. So much going on, deaths, murders, this accelerationist cult that are organized and groomed on the internet, so many deaths, huge black on white murders. It's off the charts, off the hook as they do that. But while we go in here with the Al-Akbar Muhammad Amin being arrested, I wanted to talk about what is now still the ongoing threat here to do with the expansion of the Caliphate, the threat against Christianity, especially here in Holy Week. So important to understand. Texas is just having a huge, massive Sharia Islamist threat in Texas, and I've been covering this the last couple weeks. But I want to talk about this again. It's the Sharia jihad, the Sharia Caliphate expansion, and this has to do with the second huge Sharia Islam mosque being built in the Plano area. And I know I think I messed up my last video when I was talking about Sugar Land. That was outside of Houston. That's a whole other. Texas is just being super overrun. And if you're in Texas, you ever go there, you see, all the gas stations, all the hotels, all the small stores have been bought out by Muslims hugely. But in this situation, we have this mosque called Masjid Salahuddin, being run by or led by the movement to raise tons of cash for this, being run by Yusha Evans. He is a United States non-Muslim who converted to Muslim and is now like a super jihadist Muslim. And he is the big spokesperson. He's like a preacher, for Islam, and he has massive anti-Western sentiment, anti-constitutional. Sharia law goes above any constitutional or rule of law in the United States, and that anybody who says that those things that are our freedom, our rights, our foundation, over Sharia law should be executed, basically, that they are going against Islamic law. And so we already have Epic, the other community. This is a second community that's to be built around this new Masjid Salahuddin mosque. And, this is everything. The neighborhoods are huge houses, and the street names are all Muslim. All the stores around are Muslim owned, and they're all halal restaurants, etc. And so the second one's being built at number 2 Split Trail Road, right behind the Sam's Club off Highway 75. And Yusha Evans, what he is in his videos, and I'll link below a great way you can access this to check it out. He believes Muslims who do not support Sharia law should be put to death per the Hadith, being the second most important besides the Quran, um, uh, uh, tract on Islam. He says moderate Muslims are the largest threat to Islam. They're guilty of apostasy, which is called ridda, and that any Muslim who adheres to the rule of law over the U.S. Constitution over Sharia law is guilty of apostasy, and they can be put to death. And let's not forget, it's not only the Muslims he's talking about all the non-Muslims. Okay, that's considered just of course the non-Muslims. And the Sharia expansion is the Islamic doctrine, and Yusha Evans is who's spearheading all of this. And you have to wonder, is he intelligence connected? He looks like a goofy boy. But in the expansion of the Caliphate, that has been World War G's massive way of toppling Western civilization through the migration invasion of Europe and expanding rapidly in the U.S., Canada, etc. Certainly the UK and Ireland massively. Basically, that the Sharia expansion in Islamic doctrine called Hijra is what's known as strategic migration for caliphate expansion, the Hijra, where there's strategic migration to expand the caliphate, and that's they're required to do it under Islam. It's part and parcel of the religion. And anyone who doesn't believe that, who are moderates who want to assimilate into US or Western society, are considered infidels as well. And so that's it. Sharia is the divine mandate of Islam. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you as far as that other leg of this five-legged table of World War G that Trump team is taking on full bore on all fronts. And it's out of this world amazing what is happening. Like today with Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, we'd already know from a couple days ago, they're doing a 50% budget cut at the State Department. That's huge because the State Department, the seventh floor, all of it, that is where it all happens. That's where intelligence through the State Department, it was all USAID. It was all that money that they were using to do regime change across the world and to do regime change within the United States. That is the location of the deep state, and USAID was the huge money behind it. And that's how they funded all the judges across the world, whether it's Guatemala or Brazil or Europe. Now with Europe, they're all using the lawfare, the judge system, to stop the free elections, to take people off the ballot, whether it's Le Pen or Georgescu, whoever it is. They're taking them all off the ballots based on this lawfare that used to be all funded by USAID, and it's why they were freaking out and trying to sue the United States for USAID money. Well, what just happened? We had Russ Vogt out of OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, on putting out the first rescissions to go through and get voted through Congress. And this has to do with rescissions of $9.3 billion. And it was, I think, 8.3 billion of that was to just stop the rest of the funding of USAID. Okay, the remaining 8.3 billion. And then another billion that was going to fund NPR and PBS to stop that as well. So that's huge that now we've got OMB coming in here. But Marco Rubio, with the budget cuts at the State Department, he also now has come out and said that the State Department is now totally getting rid of any tentacles of the Global Engagement Center. That was Nina Jankowicz when they were like, we're going to have a truth commission. We're going to have a total censorship board run by the EU happening in the State Department. But what Rubio is saying, and he did this on an incredible interview with Mike Benz, who's great at Mike Benz Cyber on X, can follow everything he does there. He was able to sit down with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, which is incredible. And basically what Marco Rubio said is that as we totally disintegrate anything to do with the Global Engagement Center, which was the censorship board that deplatformed all of us, okay, deplatformed everybody and then debanked them and, just ruined the lives of everybody who has been talking about freedom for the last, whether it was the shots, whether it was the migration, whether it was the World Economic Forum, whether it was the pandemic, whether it was the Trump um, coup, the election steal, all of it. He said, we are now putting in something called the Transparency Initiative. And this is headed up by Darren Beattie, who was of Revolver News and has been the incredible spokesperson about everything to do with J6, with the pipe, BOMBER, the revelations around who were the feds that were involved in the J6 stuff. Dr. Darren Beattie, is now working at the State Department, has been now for about a month or so. And he is basically going to be, they have a huge, just an entire thing called the Transparency Initiative to basically give everybody, identify all the victims who were censored and who were deplatformed. This is amazing, just off the charts, incredible that they're going out there to identify who everybody was, make that public knowledge, while they basically are going to be setting up something for a huge class action type situation against those who created this. And so basically, yeah, going after the censorship apparatus, the Transparency Initiative out of the State Department by Marco Rubio. So huge, incredible stuff there. Amazing. And so going on from there, we have Judge Boasberg, no oath, a member of the Inns of Court, the secret society. He's also a Bones member of Yale. He is a Bonesman, Skull and Bones member. Boasberg is still, even after Supreme Court has taken over the case by vacating his temporary restraining orders on those planes, okay, of Trinidad, um, uh, uh, gang members being deported to the CCOT Supermax in El Salvador, and that those cases literally being taken away from him, being vacated. We have Judge Boasberg still pushing this contempt trap on Trump and his DOJ team about his temporary restraining orders to stop those planes in midair and turn them around. And I can't see where this can go. It just seems like a kamikaze mission of Boasberg, who probably it is, because just like as we're about to talk about here with Letitia James and everything coming out about her being guilty of the same crimes she was accusing Trump of, same with Boasberg. So we need to go to a3p.org, article3project.org, a3p.org. He has the ways you just send your emails to your congressman to get this impeachment process against Boasberg done, because this is absolutely ridiculous. It is magic. It's just trying to use bogus, illegal lawfare against the Trump team. And we know with Letitia James, Hakeem Jeffries, all of them, Eric Swalwell at his Tesla protest the other day, all of them, they're counting on stealing the 2026 midterms. They're counting on it. And so the big action here is, if you're not already involved in something like precinctstrategy.com, or any of these ways that you get involved in your state's elections that are coming up for 2026, they are planning to steal it. We're having good, the Trump's executive order on the election fraud is covering good ground. There's in North Carolina, they are now going to allow 60,000 votes to be counted that weren't counted, that led to the election of a Democratic judge there in North Carolina. There's huge things happening, like with them taking away, what was that one company, um, that one, excuse me, sorry, trying to find it here. Well, I'll get there in a second, but that one law firm that was in charge of the Dominion lawsuits got stripped of their um, of their ability to function as they got their national security clearances stripped. That was Sussman Godfrey, the law firm that basically, Trump banned from federal grounds and getting any national security clearance. Sussman Godfrey, they were the Dominion law firm. And so they the ones suing Mike Lindell, sued Newsmax, sued everybody. And I would put up Sidney Powell on that as well, Giuliani. They got taken down huge, and so these are huge wins. But we know with people like Letitia James, Hakeem Jeffries, Schumer, uh, Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, all these dirt bags are counting on there being this 2026 deal. So getting involved in any way in your local and state elections is super paramount right now, and supporting everything you can for the paper ballots, same day counting, hand counting, no machines. Because what did Tulsi Gabbard say the other day? Tulsi Gabbard came out in the cabinet meeting to the press and said, we are 24/7 going and just rifling through the incredible data and evidence we have on the machines, showing how they are hacked, how they flip votes in real time, basically saying that to the entire nation from the cabinet meeting the other day, which was, I'd say, that was historic in itself. I mean, if they were going to maybe sum up what's happened so far in the Trump administration, they could play that cabinet meeting 2-hour press conference, because it was off the charts for showing how Trump is reclaiming America and humanity from the globalists and the deep state from without and within. And so, yeah, Boasberg is still trying to hold the Trump administration in contempt of court. And it's kind of a magical thing, as he's a skull and bonesman. Maybe he thinks he can do magic, seeing as those that case was already vacated by the Supreme Court. So it's all just propaganda at this point. As much as they care about the lawfare, it's kind of the process is the attempts that they can make to try to create the propaganda machine that puts out there to the public, the Trump administration is a totalitarian regime that is doing a judicial coup on the proper rule of law, in the United States, when it's all completely the opposite. And this is what they use in every color revolution scam that they have done, and now they've lost the money with USAID gone. So very, very exciting and interesting there. And I think I'll jump from there to Letitia James, because what came out today, Letitia James now, she's running scared, pledging to fight, 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 right? Not like Trump with a bullet through the ear. No, she's going to fight, fight, fight. Her threat was, in 2026, we'll impeach Trump. We're going to impeach Trump. We're going to impeach Trump. That's what they're all saying. And that's why our action is so important. But Letitia James, of course, now it's coming out, is she even a valid Attorney General of New York? And was she during all of the lawfare against President Trump, which now she is guilty of the same charges, possibly, as the DOJ is instructed to create a criminal case against her of mortgage fraud, loan fraud, and possibly tax fraud. All of the things that they tried to put on Trump out of New York under Letitia James, because the reason she might not be a actual legal um, attorney general is because it looks like her official residence is actually in Virginia, and you cannot be an attorney general of a state that that isn't your official residence, because she owns properties in New York and Virginia. And what's coming out is that there is massive mortgage fraud being committed here, and it's so interesting. So Norfolk, Virginia, she buys a property there and lists it as her primary residence. And when you do that, you get different mortgage you get different mortgage uh, options, okay, that are better. Okay, your primary residence versus your secondary residence. if New York was meant to be your secondary residence, that would be a whole different tax issue, a whole different mortgage issue, all of this. And so what we're finding is one of the craziest things here is that she went in with her father, claiming that he was her husband, okay, because they have the same last name, that her father was her husband and that they were a married couple so that they would get better mortgage terms and better loan terms on buying these properties. Okay. And so that's off the hook crazy. That's right up there with Ilhan Omar claiming that her brother was her husband, that they were married to get him into the United States. And so this is huge. These are huge. We have the New York property was listed as being 4 units instead of 5 units to get better loan terms. And so this is going to just be amazing. There's also something to do with government funds, like HUD money type deal that went into these properties as well. So it's just it's pretty fantastic. All of this is kind of coming out, and it is really quite thrilling. So we have so much more besides. I'm probably going to be stopping this one fairly soon. We just need to understand, like, we are literally, God, everything with the Ponzi scheme that they were attempting and hoping by now, if Hillary had gotten in, if Kamala had gotten in, and the 4 years of Biden tortured everyone so much that we're here at this moment, and we're here in this week of the Passion and the Holy Week, where God is basically saying, "Hey, everything's aligned." Okay, we have all the criteria here with the Ponzi scheme of the United States coming to an end, the Ponzi scheme that is China coming to an end, where it is now a incredibly perfect execution of a relentless plan by the Trump administration to reorganize geopolitics and geoeconomics, and to save Western civilization and also protect Christianity. It's an incredible, I would say, divine opportunity, and it's why all of us must be super involved. It's not a sit back popcorn time. Okay, this is like involvement, whether it's making the phone calls to your representatives, like, next week when they get back from their Easter weekend, because they're always taking their time off. You want to be calling Jim Jordan, you want to be calling Johnson, you want them 202-225-3121 for your Congress members and 2777 for Johnson, where you are saying, hey, we want Boasberg impeached, and hey, by the way, we want massive pause and no on the Real ID implementation, okay? Because this is a whole other thing that's massive. We have, of course, Real ID set to go into play on May 7th. There's lots of workarounds there, so you don't have to be hair on fire about that, but it is, of course, for your huge, professional class that do a lot of flying, they're all just running and getting their Real IDs, right? And this was something that came out of the Patriot Act. It was written by the same people who wrote the Patriot Act, and this is the Real ID Act, and this was from 2003, I believe, or 2005, and I think at 3. And so basically they haven't been able to implement it because it's so anti-constitutional, and it's just the Patriot Act suspending all of our rights. But they already have this. This is a global system, the Real ID system. And in Europe, one of the things about the Real ID system is the plan to use your face as, your face scan as your digital biometric identification. So they'll get rid of they'll get rid of boarding passes and tickets and all this kind of thing. You have to have a phone. And basically, you just walk up and you scan your face, and it's got all your travel information, and that's how you travel. And the thing is, this already exists, okay, in the UK and Europe. And for all the, if you take the train from UK to Europe, they already have this in place. The trains throughout Europe, all of it. And so this is something that must be stopped. And trying to push this through DHS with GNOME, etc., that we're just going to accept this Real ID, total invasion, total a violation of our constitutional rights. Okay, right to privacy, etc. So this is all upcoming and something that needs to get fought immediately as we come up here. Well, it is April 16th. So I'm going to be back on Friday and on Saturday. Saturday will be April 19th. That will be, of course, Trump's 100th day in office, coming in at the incredible exact time of the 250th anniversary of the shot heard round the world and the first American Revolution, and of course the sacred battle at Lexington and Concord, where you had your Black Robe Regiment, you had Sam Adams, you have all these incredible players that kicked off the fight against the first globalists, the British East India Company, and the King George, all of it, the Rothschilds, all of them. And so we definitely want to do that. I'll just focus solely on that on Saturday for video, but I will be back on Friday. We'll be keep talking about the incredible things that are happening. So much more besides what I was able to get to here, but um, we've got our eyes on the prize. Okay, the prize, of course, is Resurrection Day on Sunday, and the resurrection, and the incredible knowledge that redemption and resurrection are simultaneous. That when you seek redemption, you are automatically immediately, simultaneously resurrected. It is the beauty of the simplicity of the number one threat to the world powers of globalism and the satanic cabal is the number one thing. It is the golden rule. Okay, and it simplifies everything. It takes all that priest class out of it. We are free. Okay, and as Christ said, what I have done, you can do, and will do even more so. And so here we are, swords out, okay, in formation, heading towards those gates, the gates of hell, to take them out and to be very, very just grateful and thrilled on this Passion Week as we move towards Resurrection Day to be living in this time and watching this incredible Second American Revolution go worldwide, and especially through what is the army of the economic team of the Trump administration and what these policies are that are being leveraged along with these tariffs to reclaim the U.S. economy being able to survive, and not only that, thrive, reclaim our energy, reclaim our sovereignty. So we're here, and we just keep on, keep that prayer wave going, and just celebrate, but get to work. Okay, we are free. I'll see you on Friday.